Hey everybody, it is Kathy with Backyard Columbus, and I thank you for tuning in today. And today's topic is about, is it too late to plant? So this is one of the reasons actually that I love doing this podcast, is because if you were to have asked me without me looking anything up, I would have said, absolutely, it is too late to start planting anything. It's too warm, all your plants will die, and apparently I am incorrect. So here's why I'm doing this episode today. So actually, if we talk about vegetables, you can still plant, according to several websites I visited, you can still plant beans, cucumbers, some varieties of squash that would have a shorter season. If you wanted to plant something, say you were just dying to have your own tomatoes or have your own peppers, then the best thing to do, because those do need a pretty long growing season, is buy something that's already growing. Like, I would not start that from seed. Buy it as a plant and then transplant it into the garden, understanding you're going to have to baby that just a bit more than you would perhaps if you had planted it earlier in the season. On that note, I will say you probably won't be behind at all, because this year, like last year, Ohio, here in central Ohio, we've had a very cool, rainy season, like a cool, rainy start to the season. And so many of these plants that like things hot and a little bit drier, like tomatoes and peppers, haven't been that happy. And so you won't be behind at all. So if you can go to the garden center and find a tomato plant that you want to have, go ahead and buy it and plop it in the ground and get going. You know, if you don't have a garden bed, like we do raised garden beds at our house, and if you don't have those already put together and you don't have the time, you don't want to spend the money or don't have the extra money, just find a sunny spot. I would put some compost, some good organic garden soil in the spot that you're going to put the tomatoes. Although at the end of the day, sometimes tomatoes aren't all that fussy. I mean, we have had them come up all over in the yard because I end up composting a tomato and the seeds survive all winter in that soil. And then when I spread it around the yard, then they tend to come up everywhere. So what do I know? Maybe they're really not all that picky, but I'm just trying to get you best foot forward. So corn apparently was something that you can start now as well. And again, this is of a surprise to me, because this may be why our corn is not doing very well, because I started it as a seed, transplanted it as a seedling into the ground. Well, again, we've had quite a cool, rainy start to the season. And I mean, they're not even 3.5 feet tall by now. So, and they're already starting to tassel. So maybe I could just go ahead and plant them again and see what happens. So you could, if you really wanted to have a vegetable garden, it is not too late. There are some herbs that you can plant as well. I think cilantro, and I'm not an expert in herbs, but cilantro may be a little cranky right now because they don't like it it doesn't like it super hot. But you could definitely do some basil and oregano by seed. But I know that I was just at one of the stores today, and they definitely have those available as plants. Even Trader Joe's has those as plants right now. So go out and buy a thing of basil, plop it in a pot, and you're going to be set and way ahead of what I'm doing right now. That is a fact. If also, you can plant by seed kale, lettuce, several varieties of lettuces, and spinach. So those do really well in a raised bed. We have a cedar raised bed. It's about 3 feet high, and it's perfect for something like that. And that way the rabbits can't get to it because it is way off the ground. So you can order those online. You can have it at your house in 2 days, get it set up and get your seeds in there, and then you'll have some lettuces to enjoy the rest of the season. So not too late for some food items, okay? Now, if you were like, gosh dang it, I really wish that I had started with some flowers already, well, it's not too late for that either, lo and behold. So now if you wanted to do things by seeds, something like marigolds, zinnias, and cosmos, those are really great. Marigolds, I know people seem to be of two minds about marigolds. They either love them or hate them, it seems. I am not in love with the smell, but I love the flower. It is a rock star in the garden. Like, it's just a hard-working flower. You can plop those seeds anywhere, and they will come up. And bees and butterflies love them, actually. I mean, and they last until it frosts. So it's a great flower to have scattered throughout anywhere that you have a sunny spot. But zinnias are my all-time favorites. Those do need sunny spots. And on that note, I will say, I think this is why, for all the money that I spent on zinnia seeds this past year, almost none of them in our front flower bed came up. And that those went straight in the ground, and I always do that to whatever degree I do that, and they're usually pretty successful. Well, this year almost none of them came up, which is a severe disappointment. So I bought some already existing, like already grown flowers, already grown zinnias, and put those in. That's just a real disappointment when you've spent all the money and time planting the seeds. But perhaps it was, again, too cool and too rainy, and the seeds failed where I put them in the front yard. So it's not too late to plant zinnias, and I might go ahead and add some more in to see, because those will grow and they will last until the first frost. And that's usually honestly, I'm not sure, you'd have to look it up, maybe October. So late September, early October. So not too late to plant zinnias, and you can put those in a pot if you have a limited amount of space. Just make sure it's in a sunny location. Buy 1 pack of zinnia seeds. They're like $2.50. Scatter a few in there. Keep it watered, and you will have zinnias the rest of the summer. If you buy some plants, some nectar-producing plants. Now, here's where I'm not going to get hot and heavy into butterfly gardening on this episode, but if you were like, man, I really wanted to have a butterfly garden this year, you could do the seeds that I just mentioned and then go to your local nursery and ask for, I would not go, by the way, to Lowe's or Home Depot for this next part, because they don't have a lot in the way of native Ohio plants. They have general plants that they sell probably in most of their locations, and more than likely, the person you ask isn't going to really know what you're talking about anyway. So, not that they aren't perfectly nice people, but this is their main specialty, is not to be a nursery, okay? So if you went to a local nursery and asked them for native Ohio nectar-producing flowers, they can point you in the right direction. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because those plants, in their DNA, in their little plant DNA, it already knows the deal about Ohio, and July is hot. Okay, so they're not going to just die right off the bat, versus if you went and bought something exotic and it typically grows in a cooler climate. Okay, if that makes sense. So when you get into exotic species, when you get into species that are not native to the state where you live, to the area where you live, then you have to baby them a bit more, especially if you're planting them in the hottest part of the season, okay? July is not typically a very cool month, so anything that you put in, native or not, I would watch it a little bit more than you would normally have to, because it's going to be brand new. Sometimes they can get transplant shock. Just make sure that if you buy an existing plant of whatever it is you buy, hopefully you're going to go for a native nectar-producing plant, flower. I would dig the whole plant that you just bought, like that whole root ball, all that dirt that comes out of the pot, all of that fits well within that hole. You can cover it up, water it really well, and then I would put some kind of mulch down around it so that the moisture in the ground does not evaporate. That mulch helps keep not only weeds out, but it helps keep the moisture in a little bit better than the sun baking and beating down on bare soil. So hopefully that makes sense. So I did forget to mention, because this is pretty handy that I just found before I recorded this episode. If you get online and you are thinking, okay, seriously, I really, really, really want to have a few foodstuffs in a vegetable garden, look up, it's actually athens.osu.edu, and I will put a link to that in the transcript. They have an Ohio gardening calendar. So every month, what you can plant, there's loads of those out there, but I'm just, this is specifically for Ohio and Zone 6B, which is where Ohio State University is. And so that is very helpful, so you can see what you could plant this month, and maybe you can't pull it together this month. See what you can plant next month, and then there are actually fall things that you can plant, because those vegetables like a cooler season, okay? So hopefully, let me go over my notes here, make sure I got everything in. I did say to water everything well, right? Because, listen, I've known plenty of people with the best of intentions. They got brand new landscaping, or they did something like this. They got some flowers put in, they got some vegetables put in, and then they completely forgot to water everything and it all died. So that's not fun at all. So just, we all have phones. Put it in your phone calendar to remember to water, and remember, water things deeply. And that means don't just stand there with the hose and sprinkle it on the top and count to 10 and think that you're done. Because what that does, and this goes for your grass as well. Sorry, it goes for your grass as well. If you water lightly and water often, then what you're doing is training the roots to stay near the top of the soil. And so when it gets really hot, you end up singeing the plants, okay? And they're more prone to dying, more prone to stress. If you water deeply and less often, so I'm not sure, honestly, sing a couple of songs and really give everything a good water, okay? Let that water really soak into the ground, and then you will be training the roots to go down to the bottom, like as in going way down deep into the ground to search for water that way instead of staying near the top, okay? So that will go a long way. If you do buy seedlings of any sort, whether you planted some flowers by seed, and then those start to come up, and then we hit the hottest week known to man. If you have planted, you bought some tomatoes and they've just gotten in the ground, and then we hit the hottest week known to man, then I would get some kind of a shade cloth, shade it somehow just to give it a little bit of a reprieve until it gets past that week and those roots have gotten a little bit more established. That way you don't lose anything that you've just planted and spent time and money on, okay? And not to mention all the hope you have and that it's going to do well. It's going to flower, it's going to give you fruit and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, hopefully this will be helpful to you. And I, for one, am pretty excited that I learned I can plant a few things, which means for me, I'm going to replant a few things. So as always, I thank you for listening and have an awesome day.